Jake, back at it again with the video. That's what Nolan Collette would say to me. This is day 66. I know the Dom Daniels creeping around. It's spreading like wildfire around social media. In like the first couple of days, it had like 5 million views on Facebook, which is absolutely ridiculous. And those kids from Riverside were just on the Ellen DeGeneres show. So how shows how popular you can get depending on what you do and if people really like your stuff, I guess. If people really like that. I think it was pretty funny, but I mean, not intentionally deserving of that much fame and fortune, I guess, if you consider it fortune, but definitely fame. But anyways, what I'd like to bring to you tonight on day 67 to day 65 last night, I'm going to do day 67 tomorrow. I'm going to bring to you the concept and tool of KSE, giving you another acronym, just like VRIN scores, value, rarity, anonymity, non-substitutability. I'm giving you KSE. KSE stands for knowledge, strategy, and execution. A lot of people do it backwards. They do execution, strategy, and then knowledge. They try to execute what they don't even really know about. They don't have a strategy for. They just try to do it, follow their path blindly, and then from there, they go back and then they recreate a strategy. And then from this strategy and like all this experience, they gain a lot of knowledge because in the process they made a lot of mistakes. Charlie Munger says it's not that he made necessarily all of the best decisions, it's just he eliminated most of the common mistakes, most of the mistakes the common man makes. So there's a pattern here. You want to do KSE. Before you get into a field, you want to research all the knowledge. Before you get into if I'm developing a time management app, we need to look at other products. We need to email people who have done similar things, who have created an app before, know what we're getting into, get a mentor, talk to people who have done it, like I said. And so you build this knowledge, and then you create a strategy from there, from what you learned on past experiences. You don't want to make these mistakes because you can foresee and predict the future a little bit. Not saying that it's guaranteed, but you can learn a great deal from these past events. And then from there, you execute. You just have to go be relentless. Tim Grover, one of the best trainers in the United States, talked about Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. These guys had mentalities like no other. They get in the zone and no one can talk to them because they're so focused on what they're doing. You execute with that mentality, I guarantee you'll be successful. Now let's look at an example of an industry in which people did not execute very well for the most part. You can look at the solar panel companies that developed in the early 2000s, I believe. I'm not very sure. I was reading an article about this on Business Insider. But about 9 out of 10 solar panel companies, and they're mainly in Silicon Valley, if I believe. And these companies, pretty much just a bunch of businessmen, not necessarily technological savvy guys, went in, tried to do this, make solar panels happen because the business was booming. They saw great opportunity, but they didn't know. They didn't do research. They didn't get the right people. They didn't create the right strategy. And then they executed poorly. And then from there, they either quit or they had to revamp, go back in, create another strategy, and then potentially they would fail again and maybe fail again after that. And now what they gain from that is the knowledge. You see how this goes backwards? There's a trend here. They made mistakes. Listen to Charlie Munger. That guy has read a lot of books and definitely has had a great amount of success. So if you could take his word on that, that's the one thing I'm giving you tonight as well. That's the hidden tip of this video. I'm a little sick, but that's all right. I just have a pretty violent cough. You see me at school, maybe, if you go to school with me. But yeah. So what you want to do is you want to gain that knowledge first, and then create a strategy from there. Because a strategy is a multifaceted plan. A plan is something that this, and that have to go right in order for this to happen. But strategies, if this goes right and then the next step goes wrong, we can do this. But if that goes wrong as well, we can do this, and that. So you have to do a lot of planning, a lot of thinking, a lot of strategizing. Strategic planning is a big skill, making decisions. The 40-70 rule. You don't want to sit too long on things, though. As I was saying, these guys might have jumped too early. Maybe they weren't really sure about this industry. They're more falling towards that 15% area instead of being like 40-70% sure that this was a great idea. Again, I talked about that earlier in my videos, the 40-70 rule, but we're not talking about tonight. We're talking about KSE. So avoid the mistakes of these businessmen creating the solar panel industry because they failed about 9 out of 10. And these are the ones who just plainly did it wrong and did not create the best product, because when it gets competitive, you will be defeated if you're not using superior technology. And that's obvious. You talk about the basic laws of economics, supply and demand. People want the best product for the cheapest price. And sometimes that's not true in every case, of course, but in most cases, that's how it's going to appear. And we can give an example. Let's give an example of how, in some cases, this may be misleading, this statement I just said. I was reading a story. I forget what bias this is. It's a cognitive bias. I should know this because it's my senior research project. But what happened was they were in a jewelry store, and the main object in the center floor of this jewelry store was a really nice, I don't think it was a diamond, but it was a ruby. And this ruby was a great cut. It's the best thing in the store, but it was at a lower price because they were just trying to get rid of it, really. And instead, the owner said, we're going to drop it a little bit lower, see if we can get some buyers. And his manager accidentally marked it up way higher because he missed the comma. And it was, instead of like $7,000, it was like $27,000. And then this rich businessman comes in a week later, sees that, and thinks that this product is a lot better. I want to say it's confirmation bias, but I'm not totally sure. Let's just say it's confirmation bias, that people believe that your products are... Actually, no, we can't say it's confirmation bias because I'm not sure. I'm not very sure. But it's the concept that people believe that things are more expensive. If things are more expensive, then they're way nicer. But anyways, this has not happened. I know, kind of strayed my path, but that's what you kind of do on impromptu speaking. Go wherever you want with it. Anyways, I'm going to bring it back. So that is just one example of how this fundamental law of economics can be misleading. So it's not always the cheapest thing. Sometimes it can be the most expensive thing, which people perceive to be as nicer. And that's pretty common sense. We can all think of examples how that's have worked, probably even in our lives. So if you're ever creating ideas or doing something, it could be with anything: schoolwork, planning your goals for the next day, reading books. Gain some knowledge, maybe get some reading techniques, how to read faster. Do a different style of reading. There's different styles, you have to look up them. Do a program, gain some knowledge, and then create a strategy of how you're going to increase your reading capabilities, because it is a skill to build up reading. Warren Buffett just didn't go from 0 to 400 to 1,000 pages in a day. Create a strategy, and then follow that strategy with your execution and be relentless. That's the knowledge, strategy, execution step. It's what you need to do in order to be successful. Powerful concept. You can apply this to your life. I want to see it done, and that's going to help you a lot. So gain knowledge first, then create a strategy, a multifaceted plan, and then just execute and be like hell. Excuse my French if you consider that a bad word, but you got to be relentless. Tim Grover, Day 66.